It's time for Ask Mike Mondays. Mike answers one listener's question every week. Here's Michael Becker and Paul Peebles.
Welcome to Ask Mike Mondays. I'm your host, Paul Peebles, National Underwriter for Old Capital. And joining me today, His Honor himself, the Mayor of Beckerville, Michael Becker.
Hey, Paul.
Thanks for coming in, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate your service to the podcast listeners.
Always happy to have you invite me.
Michael, who has bought and sold over 5,200 apartment units, 25 large plus apartment buildings in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He was a loaner of money, and now he is an owner of real estate, 15 years with a large national bank, and now he owns apartments with his investors. So I thought we would kind of visit with him in a question. Well, let's put that on hold just for 1 second. Michael, what is going on in the Old Capital world these days?
You know, I think one of the things that, is new to us is Paul is teaming up with another gentleman out of San Jose. We're going to have the apartment investor networking group starting up in San Jose, California, the DoubleTree near the San Jose airport. It's going to be on May 2nd, so I'm excited about that. Paul, anything else to add on that conference?
Yeah, May 2nd, the DoubleTree Hotel next to the San Jose airport. We're going to bring in graduate John Hopkins, so one of the best analysts / economists out there from CoStar. I think you'll really enjoy, as I say, live in California but invest in Texas. Some of your money in Texas at least, and just get some exposure to a hard asset when you buy an apartment building or office or retail, whatever. This economist, David Kahn, will kind of talk a little bit about what's going on in other parts of the United States, specifically Texas. And people have always made trips to Texas. Now we're going to make a trip up to California to see some of our friends up there. So May 2nd, go to the Old Capital Podcast. And also do not forget to register for the 2018 Old Capital All Day Multifamily Conference at AT&T Stadium. Again, the theme is Get in the Game. Get in the game. September 13th, Roger Staubach will be our keynote speaker. Roger, if you don't know this, not only did he win some Super Bowls and voted to be one of the best players in the history of football, but he was in commercial real estate. And he sold his company, I think, for $700 million or so. A
large amount of money.
To JLL a number of years ago. And he used to sell commercial real estate while he was playing football. So it built a tremendous amount of a company and very knowledgeable. I think you'll really enjoy listening to Roger Staubach talk about the commercial real estate business. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Anything else?
Yeah, no, looking forward to it. He's certainly, not in our neck of the woods, not only a football legend, but he's, really one of the icons of the commercial real estate space, and someone that I think hopefully we can all listen and emulate in some form or fashion in our professional real estate careers.
So here's the question, Michael. How do you present an LOI, a letter of intent? What should we include to increase our offer to be accepted? So you would think that that's a kind of an easy question, but it takes some negotiating back and forth between the buyers and sellers. But you want to get into the game, so to speak, by putting the first volley out there to buy their property, and the LOI is a very important piece. Yeah,
so the LOIs, there's no super mystery to the actual LOIs. It's kind of how everything else that goes around it really is kind of the secret sauce. So, but the LOI itself is pretty straightforward. It's just basically outlining the salient facts of your offer, price, earnest money, timing, contingencies that you might get in there, or no contingencies that you have. You're going to go hard with some earnest money out of the gate, all those basic terms. And then, when we do that, we also typically always include a copy of our REO schedule. So the seller of the property can see that, we've done over 5,000 units and we're, credible, and these are the types of assets and vintage that we own, and the locations, and, kind of helps leads a little bit of credibility when you're just kind of looking at our LOI versus maybe the next person's, because, it's just a piece of paper at that point. And then we also include the due diligence checklist, so all the items that we want to get when we get into it and actually get into contracts, all the stuff that the seller is going to need to provide us. We can do our proper due diligence on the property. The actual one that we use, we haven't mentioned this in a while. If you go to oldcapitalpodcast.com, you can certainly find a copy of my sample due diligence checklist. This is the actual checklist that we attach to an LOI that we submit. So, put all that in and then you submit it to it. So what kind of the art of this deal, that's kind of the science. What the art of the deal really is, how do you engage with the broker when you're putting this together to make sure that, you craft the terms in a way that are going to get yourself at the top of the list and get your offer considered, So some of the things that, you certainly need to make sure you do. We've, had Nick and Bard from Marcus and Millichap on a few weeks back. and they were talking about, some things that they like. So, first and foremost, to get your offer, increase the likelihood of your offer getting accepted. If you haven't toured the property, it's almost a 0% chance. I won't say it's a 0% chance, but it's damn near a 0% chance.
Oh, it's a 0%
that they're going to take your offer, right? Because if you haven't even gone out and seen the property, they're not going to take you seriously. So you can't be from out of state and put an offer in on a property, say here, or I could put an offer in Los Angeles on a property and not go see it and get my offer really taken seriously. So make sure you come out, you tour the property. Some of the things that you want to make sure you communicate to the brokers so they can, effectively communicate to their client, the seller, is that, hey, I've walked it, I understand what's going on physically with this asset. Hey, here's my basic capital plan. Here's where I think the opportunity in the deal is. Here's, I think that the seller is under market on rents by 10 cents a square foot or $100 a month or whatever, because of these comps down the street. So, that's they want to make sure that you understand what you're buying, you understand what your capital plans are, how are you going to operate it, how are you going to finance it? Have you talked to, say like Paul or James or somebody from Old Capital? Have you sized it up on debt? What are the debt terms you're expecting? So that you basically just need to come in, really well organized. And, you need to communicate all that to the seller, even if you think that you have upside in the deal and that they're not doing something right or their expenses are off or the seller's mismanaging it. You might think kind of on the surface that's a negative thing. And you don't want to bring that up and kind of criticize the current operations. But in reality, just shows that you're prepared and you have a plan and you know what you're going to do, and your confidence level in this deal is pretty strong that that you understand what you're getting into, and you're not going to then find something down the road that's a surprise to you and then potentially cause an issue with the deal and have you back out, which is what they're trying to do. The broker's trying to assess your credibility and how certain your execution is relative to all the other people, So it's not just a function of price, it's also about certainty of execution. So the more that you can do, the better. And then, generally speaking, you never really know, but once you establish a relationship with a lot of these brokers, you just kind of ask, hey, where's this thing going to trade at? Where's it going to be? And you kind of plug that in the model, and either you can kind of get around that pricing or you can't. Sometimes it's a fluid situation where they think, one thing going in the deal and the property then is really well received and the market, really wants and the pricing goes up. Or it could be the opposite. The broker's calling you 2 or 3 times saying, hey, will you put that LOI in? That might be a sign that they maybe mispriced it on the front of the deal and the response isn't quite there, and you maybe get a little bit lower. So, those are just some of the things that I think about when we're putting these offers together and trying to increase the likelihood of getting our offer accepted.
Michael, also too, sometimes brokers want feedback. I mean, so many times I think I've heard that you go out to the property, you take a look at it, and then you don't put any feedback out there. You don't even put an LOI out there together. But some of these brokers need written feedback that they can share with the seller. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's certainly something, whether you have in some form or fashion, you should try to give some feedback when you tour a deal. So that could be as simple as, hey, man, this had a lot more deferred maintenance than I thought. So my capital budget, when my initial underwriting, we just can't make it work. Or the debt quote I got was, I was expecting $1 million more in loan proceeds. It's not going to work. So some level of feedback on why it's not going to work. One of the other things too, a lot of my friends now, become friends over the years with all the top listing brokers in town, and talking with them kind of over drinks, you'll hear feedback like, this person has come out and they've toured 4 or 5 deals and they never actually put an LOI in. So, I'm kind of getting sick of touring this guy because, they're just kind of kicking the tires. So you'll get a reputation, you get slotted in the broker's mind if you're just constantly the tire kicker and never actually submitting offers. So, at a certain point, if you tour a bunch of stuff, you need to actually start putting LOIs in, even if you're not competitive, even if you're not going to win the deal, but you need to kind of follow through or these brokers aren't going to take you seriously. And, we mentioned this multiple times, and I think we've had other brokers talk about it. You're likely not going to get the first deal that you look at. So it's a process, and you got to kind of be the bridesmaid a few times before you actually get married. So getting out there, putting offers in, giving feedback, those are important things. And if you're just a guy that just tours and tours and tours and never actually offers or gives feedback, that's going to hurt your reputation in the marketplace.
So if somebody wanted to get more information concerning a little bit about what you do in the SPI group that buys apartment buildings, what's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you, Michael?
Yeah, the easiest way is just simply go to our company's website, which is www.spiadvisory.com. That's SPI like spy, advisory.com. On there's a contact us page, and you fill that out. I'm always happy to set up a 10 or 15-minute telephone call with listeners of the podcast. I want to know a little bit more about what we do. That's
great. And don't forget to go to the Old Capital podcast to download the 17-page white paper report on underwriting. So You bring in the 20%, we bring in the 75 to 80% into the transaction. We should be your best friends, but you got to understand what the rules of the game are to get the money. So Michael and I wrote the 17-page white paper report just to give you some, a platform or some feedback on what to look for and how to structure these deals. So, what you should have and what is important in lending and the lending side. So oldcapitalpodcast.com. So again, Mayor of Beckerville, Mr. Mayor, thanks for sitting in with us. We appreciate that. I'm Paul Peebles. Have a great day.